This is Remnant 2, and by now you know that it's a good game. Some might say it's even a great game. So why am I saying it's not Game of the Year material? Stay tuned and I will show you in the following minutes. Before we get into the details, I just want to briefly point out that I don't believe this is a bad game. I actually had fun playing it. I'm not here to bash it and change your mind, I just don't think this game deserves to sit at the table with the contenders for Game of the Year. Let's just take a look briefly at the good things in this game. The game excels in a few main areas. Obviously the combat, the archetypes, the boss fights, the adventure mode, the checkpoint system, some parts of exploration, and some parts of the loot system. And starting from the top, we have the combat. First of all, the combat is engaging and fun. Enemies have weak spots that you can take advantage of to do more damage. And like in any other Souls game, there's a stamina meter that you need to pay attention to, because after you deplete it, you can't run or dodge anymore. The dodge mechanic is kind of meh. It takes a little to get used to because it has a short delay and some enemies and bosses actually wait for you to dodge before attacking, which is pretty annoying, but overall it's fine. You have your class skill that's very useful and you can pick one of 3 per class, and later you can equip a second class and that gives you a second skill. You have a relic that acts sort of like a life potion, and depending on your relic it has other effects. Like instead of healing you instantly, it increases your health regen and mod power. Now, what is mod power? Well, you can assign a mod to your weapon that can give you a type of damaging ability. Like a damage over time burn, an energy orb that damages enemies, drills that expose enemies' weak points, and in order to use that mod you have to generate mod power, and you generate mod power through shooting enemies. After the bar is filled up, you can use your mod, rinse, and repeat. Also, you can use only one mod per weapon. There's also mutators that give you various bonuses like more damage while aiming, or more damage to enemy weak points, or more damage to melee attacks. You get the point. There's also rings that are not just stat boosters. They can actually alter how your class feels and plays. They can give you more movement speed, more relic charges, a shield when using stamina, lifesteal when using melee, etc. And finally, consumables. They can remove negative effects, increase health regen, but overall they are pretty useless and costly, so you'll most likely never use them or use them very sparsely. Now that we've covered combat and gameplay, let's talk briefly about archetypes. When you first start the game, there's 4 to choose from, and you can unlock more throughout the game. As I said before, each class has 3 abilities and some passive bonuses that grow in strength as you level up, and you can later combine 2 of them into a single class. But here are the starting ones. Now you have the medic, which specializes in healing. Wow, who would have thought? The handler, which is your military dude, and in my opinion is the best class in the game because you have a doggy. The hunter, which is your sniper rifle dude, specialized in ranged damage. The challenger, which is your tanky boy and goes heavy on melee damage. Now let's talk about the boss fights. Easily, one of the best things about this game are the boss fights. Some great, some frustrating, some outright bullshit, but what you cannot deny is that every boss fight, as frustrating as they are, has a unique design and unique mechanics that are engaging and will put you to the test. There are some more unique encounters, like the big blocks of concrete in the maze level, which was a so-so encounter because in my opinion it was a little cheap in its design and it felt buggy at times. The various mini-bosses which have multiple phases, but my favorite boss fight, even though I hated the encounter to the point of quitting the game, was the Night Weaver. Both because it was ruthless and because if you got good with dodging and planning the encounter, it was surprisingly fun. And finally, the worst was definitely the last boss, which frustrated me the most. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I guess that's how it's supposed to be. Okay, enough about bosses. It's obvious that they are great. Let's briefly talk about the adventure mode. Well, it's fun, especially if you like the game. It's a great way of replaying the same universes and discovering new side quests, earning new items, discovering new archetypes, and killing new bosses. And because the game is procedurally generated, the levels are constantly changing, even though the aesthetics and the set pieces stay virtually the same. Okay, so everybody knows how great the boss fights are in this game and how good the combat is. Now let's talk about everything that holds this game back. Let's start with a gripe of mine. In my humble opinion, the art direction feels very generic. Oh my god, how can you even say that? The game looks gorgeous, there's so much variety. I mean, I agree the game looks great, but don't forget, this game was built with UE5, so it's supposed to look amazing, which it does, but that's not the point. Hear me out. Every level that I've been through felt really familiar. Like I've been there and saw that before, just couldn't quite picture where exactly. And then I saw the most blatant copy pasta of art direction and style in the last level, which is literally the upside down world from Stranger Things. Just look at the gray, the decay, the constant ashes in the air, the red accents and lighting. Look, I understand taking inspiration from other movies and games and trying to make something new out of that. That's how creativity basically works. But this looks like they literally stole the whole aesthetic from Stranger Things. Even the enemies look like a hybrid between the Demogorgon and aliens from the Aliens franchise. And even Loathsome reminded me a lot about Bloodborne. The whole theme and the time period, with people getting burned at the stake, with every enemy literally dressed in black and white. With the sewers looking almost the same, with people shooting you from far away with muskets. Also, the post-apocalyptic Earth looks very generic. It reminds me a lot of The Last of Us. There's so many ways in which you can do an apocalyptic Earth, and they did the most generic version of that. I just think that they had good intentions and the inspirations they took were a good idea, but they just didn't know what to do with them. And again, the game looks great, but to me, it feels generic. Now let's talk about the story, which in short summary goes something like this. You and your friend are trying to find refuge. You almost get killed. You then get saved by this girl and her friend that has an obsession with giving people water.
Whoa, let me get you some water. Hey, Clementine. Let me get you some water.
Then she gets pulled into a stone and she gets sent into the no-no zone. And as we all know, that's a bad no-no thing to do. That stone acts as a portal to 5 different worlds, and you go through the portal to try and save her and end the corruption. The end. I mean, that could have been an interesting story if it wasn't ruined by the dumbest dialogue options ever conceived. Just have a look. You go and talk to Nora. She tells you that she keeps people alive in Ward 13.
Nora Camarillo. I keep folks alive around here.
And your immediate question is, so are you the town doctor? No, dude, she's the town cook. That's why she has a banner on top of her head with the hospital sign on it. Then your friend tells you that the people there even healed her root rot.
They even healed my root rot.
And the next dialogue option is, so you're all better? I swear to God, it feels like I'm cosplaying as the world's stupidest man. Another example of these amazing dialogue options is this one. On Naruto, you talk to a sentient being and he's pouring his soul out to you. You can tell he's sad and curious. He asks you, what happened to the world you just entered?
Tell me, my world, precious Naruto, what has become of it?
And your character is like, you're Naruto? I don't know. What? And also, the ending is complete trash garbage that makes no sense. Moreover, everybody calls you Traveler.
Whoa, what have we here? Ah, the Traveler, of course.
Why? I have a name, and nobody bothers to ask me what it is. It's like meeting a new coworker, and then for the rest of our life, you just call her colleague. Jesus, man, it's just terrible. Look, the perfect example. I've just met this dude right at the beginning of the game, and he doesn't bother to ask me my name, but I know his. And he immediately starts calling me Traveler.
So, Traveler, your friend will be fine. I'm Bo Ward, and this is Ward 13.
What is this? Is this destiny? Am I the Traveler? Just ridiculous. Okay, so the story, in my opinion, is bad. Now, let's just talk about items and stats. Oh my god, man. I have to say, I can't remember the last time I played a game that had a worse item system than this. First of all, let's take a look at 3 different weapons. Which one does more damage? Well, one does 51 damage and shoots 7 rounds per second. This one does 22 damage and shoots 16 rounds per second. And the other one does 288 damage and shoots 2 rounds per second. Should I pull out a calculator and do the math? Do you know how games make it easy to differentiate between these guns? They add a DPS stat. How is it even possible to not have a DPS stat in a 2023 game? That's crazy. We've had the DPS stat in games since the dawn of gaming. WoW had this 20 years ago. Just ridiculous. Also, there's no rarity to anything, so when you actually get a new gun, you have no idea if it's better or worse, or it's just a difference of how many rounds per second it can shoot and the mod it has. Now, I'm not saying that every game needs to have a rarity indicator, but it certainly does help. And if you bother to put in guns and stats like these, I'm expecting to have the proper information so I can make a good decision. Okay, enough with the item system. Let's talk about the upgrades. Do you want to upgrade your weapon? Well, you need to gather resources. You need this much iron, this much scrap, and this much of this, and you can upgrade your weapon with +2 damage. Wow! Thanks, guys. Do that 20 more times. Fun! Does it increase any other stats? Like crit chance, weapon reload speed? Recoil reduction? Nope. Any new fun stats? Any new mod slot? Nope. Do you want to upgrade your mutators? Here's plus 1% for you. Wow, so fun guys. I love grinding like a dumbass for 20 hours so I can get plus 1% to my mods. Man, the upgrades are such a chore. Okay, but how about the runes though? Are they fun? Okay, so what are runes? They are literally small stat increases that you can slot into your relic. Let me show you how bad runes are. It's laughable. Let's see here. Plus 1.524% skill duration. Plus 1.379% ranged damage. Plus 1.357% armor. Are you kidding me? Do you see how much damage a boss does to you? What do you think plus 1.357% armor will do? What were they thinking? I don't care if I take 1% less damage when I'm fighting mobs. I'm literally mowing through them. They are not an issue at all. So if you have these stat increases in the game, at least make them meaningful or don't have them at all. Also, what the hell is the 0.357 increments, man? Who does that? Oh yeah, I'm sure that 0.007 is gonna make a huge difference in gameplay. Maybe if 007 shows up in the game, just ridiculous, man. And now finally, let's talk about the absolute worst part of this game. I've heard many reviewers calling this game rewarding, and I'm just wondering if we are playing the same game. Easily the worst part of this game is how unrewarding it is to play. So I've played this game for about 20 hours and I've beaten about 15 bosses through story and adventure mode. How many armor pieces do you think I received? Is it 3? Is it 2? 1? No, it's 0. Okay, how many guns do you think I've gotten? Is it 10? Is it 5? No, I got 4 guns. 4 guns after playing the game for 20 hours. I literally got another gun once I finished the game. 0 armor pieces and 4 guns. And the rifle that I got in the beginning, I hated, so I ended up just upgrading my original weapon to the max. I played the adventure mode for about 6 hours and got 1 gun, and that was from the last boss. Okay, so if you didn't get any guns and armor, what did you get? Mods. I got mods. Yeah, mods. Dude, mods should be a thing you either get from the world by farming, from chests and exploration, or crafting it from resources you get through the world, not as a reward for defeating a boss. What, so you need to tell me that after defeating a boss, some of them taking me like 30 minutes to 1 hour to beat, my reward is a mod? Gee, thanks guys! If you're gonna put an item system in the game and rewards in it, how is it even possible to consider mods as being great boss drops? Also, I've never seen chests done so poorly in a video game in my entire life. Chests are supposed to reward you for finding them with something cool. A piece of armor, an item, something interesting. What do you think they give you here? Resources. Wow, so much fun, man. Now I can do plus 2 more damage on my gun. I don't know how this is acceptable. I've literally seen the whole game and now what? I have to go through it all again so that I can do more damage to the same enemies I've been fighting for 20 hours. Oh, but there's so much replay value because the game is procedurally generated and there's infinite ways a level can look like. It doesn't matter. There's set pieces in the game. Once you've seen one for 3 or more times, It doesn't matter if it's placed in a different part of the map because it's the same one I've seen already. Again, I finished the game in one world in adventure mode, and everything that I had to show for were 4 guns and 0 armor pieces, a bunch of rings and a shit ton of useless runes. Once I've played it, I'm already bored and done with the game. Play again for what? Maybe another stronger weapon to do more damage to the same enemies that I've killed before? Grind for 20 more hours in the hopes that I can find another item? Give me a break, man. Okay, enough of this. Let's talk about some minor gripes and the conclusion to this review. There's no pause in the game. If you press escape or go to inventory, you are still active in game. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Some bugs here and there, like the levitating doggy and one that completely ruined immersion for me. I was doing this quest in adventure mode with the children from the orphanage and escorting them, which was pretty interesting. And when the children reached the orphanage, I was expecting them to open the door and go in together with me. But they just clipped through the wall, completely ruining immersion. Anyhow, here's my conclusion. In my opinion, this game has no place to be even considered Game of the Year when you have contenders like Hogwarts Legacy, which is 100% the absolute best Harry Potter game that was ever made, Jedi Survivor, Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space remakes, which arguably are one of the best games ever made, and let's not forget, even the upcoming Starfield from Bethesda. I've had a lot more fun in the games that I've just mentioned than this. So is it a bad game? No. Is it a great game? No. This is an above average game and I would rate this a solid 7 out of 10. For me, the game was completely ruined by how unrewarding it was, the dumb story and just the dialogue options and the useless stat increases. That's it. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until next time, Ruthless Mike out.